Hi everyone, welcome to English 249 Technical Writing. This is a survey course in technical writing, which means that we will be doing a lot of different kinds of writing this semester, and they'll all be projects related to writing in the professional capacities. So let's start by taking a look at our course introduction. Right, so I am Professor Springsteby and I'm your instructor for this class. My email address is right here, my first initial and last name at grcc.edu. Please remember that when you email me, you must do so from your GRCC student email. That is a GRCC-wide policy that I am obligated to enforce, and it is mentioned in the syllabus, which we will be taking a look at momentarily. When you come across the video slides, you'll see one coming up that's blank. Soon this video will be in it. You want to make sure that you click on those videos and watch the lesson, the video lesson that's there. Don't skip them. They contain information that is not in the slides. The slides are just a bare bones kind of outline. The videos are like you actually coming to class and hearing the information and having the opportunity to interact with me and with your classmates. So please make sure you watch the videos. So this is where you'll find the video that we're watching right now. And then in this week, all of the screens will look like this for the videos. So, what exactly is English 249? Well, as we said a moment ago, it's a technical writing course. It is a course that deals with the kinds of writing that you'll find in your professional careers. This is not to be confused with sort of a business communication sort of course. Business communication is part of what we do in this course as far as writing business emails and memos and things like that, but that's not all this course is about. So the course actually explores how we find, create, and deliver technical information in the professional world. We'll start off. This video will primarily be looking at the course syllabus. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Right. So this is Technical Writing, English 249, Section 1982. This is an online class. It is an online asynchronous class, which means that all of the materials will be provided on Blackboard. All of your video lessons will be provided to you on Blackboard. There are no synchronous class requirements, whether that be in person or via Zoom. Although I may, if it seems like people are interested in having a live Zoom meeting just to chat a bit, to answer questions, get to know each other, I am more than happy to try to schedule those, although it's hard to coordinate around so many different schedules when we don't have a specific class time. So the way our weeks are going to work for this class, our new week begins at noon on Monday and goes until noon the following Monday. So your assignments, unless there's a reason to change that, which there may be, your assignments are typically due on Thursdays at noon and Mondays at noon. So why Thursday and Monday, and why at noon? Well, first of all, Thursday and Monday are good like midpoints and endpoint to the week. And then at noon, so you might be used to and be thinking, well, why not Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. and Sunday at 11:59 p.m.? Well, I have switched. That's my cat. I have switched somewhat recently. I mean, in the last like year or so, I've switched to these Thursday and Monday at noon times because I was getting a lot of students who are shift workers who were having hard time meeting that 11:59 p.m. deadline. People who can only access internet from GRCC or their place of employment, so their evenings were not able to do like any assignment uploading and things like that. There were just a lot of variables that went into this. Plus, I'm not sitting up at midnight waiting for your assignments and then spending time overnight grading them. There was a point in my life when I was doing that because I was hardly ever sleeping at night, so I just used the nighttime and graded and then slept for the first part of the day, and it was almost like I was a third shift worker. But I'm not in that phase of life these days. I do sleep a little more at night. I'm still a night owl, but yeah, it's just why cut off so many hours that some people actually need to do the work? Maybe they have to wait until after their kids go to bed in order to sit down and do their work, and then, you know, trying to cram it into a very short amount of time makes them feel rushed and like they can't get their best work done and things like that. So I went to this noon deadline instead, and most days that noon deadline it lines up pretty well with when I would start checking work anyway. So it kind of makes more sense in that regard. If you are one of those people that feels like it must be Wednesday 11:59 and Sunday 11:59, by all means set that schedule for yourself and turn your work in by those times. But the official deadlines, unless otherwise instructed, are Thursday at noon and Monday at noon. Right. I didn't want to forget that, so I had to start with that. But let's go back to some of this other information as well. So here you see my full name written out, and that is Spring Stubbe. We let all the letters say their names, their sounds, because we want to be equitable here with our name. If you're going to have 12 letters in your name, you should just let them all speak, I guess. No, really, it's a very simple name to pronounce once you know how. Spring Stubbe. And then contact information. Best way to contact me is through email, because that's just what I'm attached to most, I guess. But you also need to be a little bit patient. Sometimes it will take up to 48 hours to get a response, depending on when your email comes in and what's going on a particular day. But I do try to get back as soon as I possibly can to you when you do email me. But also notice that I do set personal boundaries, and so I don't check my email after 5 p.m. Most days at that time I have to be starting on cooking dinner for the family, and some of my evening activities I have to make sure I get to or partake in or whatever on that. Same with weekends and holidays. You know, those are reserved for family time and for other obligations that I have. So I have set those boundaries around my work time, and that has been really important the last few years when most of my work has been at home. You know, and so if you're the kind of person that needs help setting boundaries, let me know, and I can work with you on that and give you all my wisdom that I've gained over the last couple of years. A note about the email. Email should be reserved for asking questions or communicating information that does not concern other students in the class. Before emailing, check the syllabus, read the assignment instructions and resources on Blackboard, watch the videos if you haven't, and ask a classmate. You'll be doing a lot of group work this semester, so you'll have classmates to ask. And if you still have questions, then absolutely please email me. And if your question is more, specific to you in a situation that you have, obviously you don't need to check with your classmates first. But yeah, please do email me, contact me about anything that you do have questions about. I don't want you to feel like you can't do that, but I do want you to do your due diligence and see if you can find the answers on your own. Because most of the time, and I know this from my own personal experience, most of the time we can find the answers if we look for them. But sometimes we don't see them. We don't find them easily, and we need to just ask. So do it. Just ask. And if your question does require an actual conversation, I'll ask you to schedule a virtual office appointment. And all of my office hours are by appointment, especially for these online classes where, sometimes you need to schedule an appointment that is at a very strange, or what seems like it would be a very strange time. So I'll, work with you on that to do my best to meet your needs during my normal waking hours. Yeah. So the phone number that you could reach me at is 616-277-7256. You will, just being honest, most likely get voicemail on this. I do teach online for a good portion of the day every day, and during that time I have my phone set to work focus and I don't receive calls. So but as soon as I see that I have a voice message, I will review the message and then get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Again, email is probably quicker, but obviously I gave you a phone number so you can use it if you need to. The course information and the student learning outcomes, I hope that you have read already when you were registering for the class. If not, here's a good opportunity to do that. I'm not going to read them to you. Required materials. The textbook for the class is this one, Practical Strategies for Technical Communication, a Brief Guide, 4th edition. I will say that if you have the 3rd edition, that's probably okay. I know there's been some updates. I'm not sure exactly what they are because I haven't gone and checked them side by side. I am honestly a little bit more familiar with the 3rd edition than I am with the 4th edition because I just was given that one. So probably both of those would be the same. They have the same basic information. I think that the 4th edition probably just has a little bit more up-to-date examples or something. But yeah, so get the 4th if you can. If you can find the 3rd for a lot cheaper and you want to go with that, that's fine with me too. Computer with internet access. Obviously, you're doing an online class. You're going to need to access the internet. And you also need to have Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Word. You can get the Microsoft Suite for free with your GRCC email address at this link right here. And you need to download the items. Don't just try to use them in the cloud because that does weird things, and I don't always get to see the things that you do that way. It doesn't submit right on Blackboard, and you can't submit, unless you're otherwise instructed, you're not supposed to submit links anyway, which you'll see a little bit later in the syllabus. All right, you should be able to use the Google Drive. Every GRCC student has your own Google Drive attached to your student email. So you need to figure out how to log into that and make sure that you can use it, because we will be making extensive use of Google this semester. I use all of my, or basically all of my videos or my weekly agenda sort of things are slides done in Google Slides, and I use a lot of Google Docs. It's easy because then if there's a mistake or if there's an addition or somebody asks a question that needs to be answered in the document, I can update that and not have to worry about, did I remember to upload the new document on Blackboard? I can just put one link and then it can be edited as needed. It changes in real time for everyone. It's made everybody's life a lot better since I've started doing that. So Google Slides, we will be using YouTube. Obviously, you'll be watching these videos. They are uploaded to YouTube because that's the best way for me to do that right now. You may decide to use PowerPoint instead of slides for some of your work, and that is fine. But you cannot use Keynote, Apple Keynote, unless you export it to a PowerPoint file. So just keep that in mind. And then you should make sure that you have access to Zoom, which basically means you just need to kind of download the Zoom client thing on your computer or on your phone, download the Zoom app, and then if we have any meetings, you'll be able to access Zoom. And that's important for, again, any meetings, but also if you want to do office hours with me at any point, we'll use Zoom for that. Okay, so the course attendance policy, for online courses, attendance does not mean that you just logged into the course. Just logging in to Blackboard does not mean anything. In order to be considered attending the class, you have to be participating in your team activities and completing the assignments that are posted on Blackboard and the Blackboard announcements. So you have to actually be substantially participating in class. You also can't just send an email and say, I'm still here, but you have to be showing that you are making progress in the course. If there are extenuating circumstances, obviously you should contact me as soon as possible, and then we will deal with that situation however we need to, whatever way is going to work out best for all, for the whole class, for you, for if you're in the middle of a team project, and for the goals of the class. Let's see. So to be successful, my biggest tip is don't wait until the last minute to start your work. Some assignments, you probably can get away with doing them at the last minute, I'll be honest. There are some that just don't require as much time as others. But most of your assignments, if you want to do them well, you're going to want to make sure that you have started them early enough that you can kind of do the level of work you need to do in order to be successful. But you get to decide what is successful for you, okay? So, just really be thinking about that. All right. It's not entirely likely anymore, but I'm still keeping this in for people who actually this is the first experience in an online course. It might be your first experience in an asynchronous online course. Maybe all of your other ones have been virtual or hybrid, and this is your first one going it kind of on your own. This is some important information. It's a different experience than an on-site class or even a virtual class. Things that are going to help you would be to follow the weekly agenda. So the slides presentation each week gives you all the information. Everything is there. Everything is linked in that slide presentation. That slide presentation is linked in Blackboard in the weekly folder. You just have to open that up, and then everything you need for the week is there for the most part. I mean, occasionally there will be something outside of that, but as much as I possibly can, it's all linked right in that one place. It just keeps it easily accessible. So, read through the slides, watch all the videos, okay? Take notes as you need to. Again, the videos give you information that's not in the slides, and a lot of that information is important for the work that you are doing. Not just theoretical, but actual instructions on assignments and things. Adhere to the deadlines. So pay attention to those deadlines. Any one of you who wants help in learning how to use a planner, a planning system, I use planners religiously. I'm just going to open up this one that I have here. So this is my daily planner. I use where I write down the different things that I've got going on for the day. And then I also have a weekly planner where I mark out appointments and things that are scheduled in for the week. This one's not quite finished, but there are some other things going on, and then I use a color coding system and some other tools to help me, and I couple that with also reminders on my phone. So I have some things, I can share. I can share my whole process with you of planning that helps me to be more likely to meet all of my goals and deadlines for a week. So if you're interested, reach out, and I'll be glad to set up a Zoom and go over that with you. Or if you happen to be on campus on Tuesday or Thursday, I might be able to do an in-person session with you then as well on one of those days. All right, but anyway, make sure you find the deadlines, you make note of the deadlines, and you keep track of them. And yeah, there you go. Participate in any discussions. Like I said, you will be doing a lot of teamwork this semester. We'll be going over that more in another video and explaining more about why we're doing that in that video. But just know that there's a lot of teamwork in this course. You'll have a team that you are matched up with early on in the this first week, and ideally the teams will stay the same for the first half of the semester, but there may be some changes that take place for various reasons. But in any case, make sure you are keeping up with your team. One thing that I think you as a team may want to do is set up some sort of a chat group. So you could use the Google Hangouts chat, whatever they're calling it these days, which you all have right there with your email. You could use your general texting if you want to. You could use WhatsApp or Telegram or whatever, any of those kinds of chatting tools, apps, whatever. You guys should, as a group though, decide what's going to work for you so that you can converse with one another easily. Most groups have found in the past that email just doesn't work very well for that. Let's see. Consider your workspace. I mean, if you haven't thought about it before, you really need to pay attention to your workspace and making sure that you've got the time, the space set aside, that the people around you are cognizant of the time that you are working and are treating it as your work time, not interrupting you. Right. Classroom etiquette. Even though we are not in a classroom, we think of the whole Blackboard and Google as our classroom, and any messaging groups that you set up, we think of that as our classroom. And you have the privilege this semester to interact with a diverse range of people and ideas through class discussions, readings, videos, and writings. Some of the people and ideas will challenge you intellectually, socially, spiritually, and in other ways maybe. By approaching these experiences and challenges with a spirit of shared inquiry, respect for the dignity and worth of all human beings, whether you agree with them or not, and maturity in conduct and attitude, we will all have an opportunity to learn from one another. Okay, so see differences as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to understand. You don't have to come out agreeing with someone that you started off not agreeing with, but you should come out with a better understanding of who they are and why they think what they do. The good thing about this class is that there probably won't be a lot of controversial topics that come up, so we don't have to worry about that as much as we do in some other English classes. But it is good to be aware of the fact that you will be working with people who are not always just like you. Okay. So we have 5 basic units of study, and there's some overlap in where some things fit. But in general, these are our 5 units. The first week is our introduction to technical writing, and your first assignment, the one that fits in there, is going to be a professional email. This professional email would work just as well in the writing to secure employment as well as the writing in the workplace, but I've just set it apart as that introductory assignment. Writing to secure employment is our second unit. We'll be working on resume, cover letter, and possibly a thank you letter in that unit. We'll move on to writing in the workplace, assuming that you've been hired by someone, and you will have this is where the bulk of your team project will be, is the writing in the workplace. You'll have some product descriptions, instructions, proposals, reviews, maybe some complaints and responses, job descriptions, performance reviews. There will be a variety of things in that project, and some of those things will be, the team project, and then there will be some other things in that unit that will be more individual. But they all kind of fall into that writing in the workplace unit. Then we have writing for digital media, where you will be creating your own professional website. And then we have writing for presentation, where you will be giving a final presentation that includes your own performance review. The final project, which is this last part, writing for presentation, and also includes the performance review part of it, is basically your final exam. And as such, it's worth 20% of your final grade. So you'll want to take it seriously. It's actually kind of a fun assignment. I know, easy for me to say, but believe me, it's really not a bad assignment. It's kind of a fun assignment. All right, so speaking of assignments, what are you going to do with them? So first thing to know is that unless I tell you otherwise, which your very first assignment, I'm telling you otherwise, you're going to submit all your work on Blackboard or in your Google folders. Oh, and I meant to update that on here to reflect the Google folder. I will do that after I finish recording this video. But you will submit Blackboard or Google folder. And failure to submit in one of those 2 places as instructed results in a 0, because that's where I'm going to be looking for your assignment, and if it's not there, then I assume you haven't turned it in and you will just get a 0. You don't want a 0. None of you want a 0, so turn your work in the right place. It's not hard, I will always tell you, but if there's ever a doubt, please reach out and email me. Yeah. One thing, just be attentive to technology issues. I mean, they come up, and sometimes we don't know when they're going to arise. You may probably hear right now that there's a rainstorm, and I think I just heard some thunder as well. Which means there's a possibility that at some point the power could go out, and I would not be able to finish this video or upload it, or whatever. And that would be my fault for waiting until 10 p.m. on Sunday night to start recording it. So I would, have to take responsibility for that. But just, I want you to be thinking ahead. Don't wait until the last minute to start your work or submit your work. Try to plan ahead so that if some of these issues come up, you're not stuck at the last minute. However, again, if there is a situation that is completely out of your control, you need to contact me as soon as possible so that we can decide together what the best course of action is going to be. Right. Unless otherwise instructed, because again, your first assignment is already breaking these rules here because I'm otherwise instructing you. All of your assignments need to be submitted as a Microsoft Word document, a PDF, or a PowerPoint. And of course, the ones that are done in your Google folder can be using the Google Suite, the docs and slides and those kinds of things. And you will, like with your video, it's going to need to be an MP4 file and, stuff like that. But for the most part, unless you're instructed otherwise, plan on Microsoft Word or PDF. If you are a Mac user like I am and you prefer to use Pages and Keynote, you will have to make sure that you export those files to either a Word document or a PDF document, or in the case of Keynote, you could export as a PowerPoint presentation. But it has to be the Microsoft stuff because Blackboard doesn't play with Apple. So it won't open those files. Yeah, so there you go. If you submit things in a format that is not asked for, then it again counts as a 0, as a not being submitted. That includes if you just submit your assignment in the comment section or the right submission section on Blackboard. Even if you think it's a short assignment and you just want to do it that way, don't do it. You'll just be counted as a 0, and you don't want that. We already discussed that. Nobody wants a 0, so don't set yourself up for failure. Set yourself up for success. Okay, got just a couple more things, and then the rest of it you're going to read on your own. But I do want to talk about the grading. All the work in this class is graded on a 4-point scale. This does not mean that your assignment is worth 4 points. It means that it's graded on a 4-point scale. That scale, think of it as the equivalent of a GPA scale. It's meant to be a student-centered, performance-centered kind of grading scale rather than a check the boxes to add up all the points grading scale. This is more of a holistic grade. This takes into account how well you are meeting the requirements of the assignment and how professional you are. So the top points, the top of the scale is the 4, and that means that you've exceeded all the assignment requirements with professionalism. So you have gone above and beyond. You haven't just done the bare minimum. You haven't just done a little bit. You have gone above and beyond to make your product the best you possibly could, and it is with the highest level of professionalism. 3, next step down, meets all the assignment requirements and is professional. So you meet the requirements and it's professional. It may not be the best absolute quality it could be, but it is still good. It's a good document. There's nothing that we could really fault it for, except maybe, for example, maybe you've done everything you were supposed to do, but it doesn't look as great as it could. Like maybe you could have used a little more attention to the details of design, like bolding and bullet points and things like that. Or maybe you do all of that stuff. You've got all the design elements, and you've got all the content elements. The style is good. You're fully professional, but you have some grammar and punctuation mistakes that just make it quite, not as polished as it could be. That would be in the 3 area. The 2s are the things that, they meet most of the requirements, but maybe maybe there's one thing missing. Or all the requirements are met, but the style, the language used, or the design just isn't quite as professional as it could be. It just kind of doesn't come together in that area, then that's a 2. 1 is it doesn't really meet the assignment requirements, or it lacks in professionalism, or both, but you did make an attempt to do something, so you get a 1. 0 is nothing was submitted. I mean, I can't grade what's not there. So each assignment will have specific requirements and expectations. Those requirements will be broken down into content, style, and design. And all 3 of those areas will be assessed on all of your assignments, unless I tell you otherwise, because there will be some where I'll say, you know, the style and the design don't really matter, I'm looking for content here. A lot of that would be where you are getting ready to do something bigger and more professional. Right. So you can see that 4s are A's, the 3 is a B, the 2 is the equivalent of a C, the 1 is the equivalent of a D, and then of course the 0 is the equivalent of an E. So if you want to think in terms of letter grades, you can think, you know, A, B, C, D, E. And then the bolded scores, so anything from a 2.0 to a 4.0 are passing scores. All right. As far as academic integrity goes, when you submit work as your own, but that work in any way borrows ideas, organization, wording, or anything else from another source without appropriate acknowledgement of the source, you are guilty of plagiarism. Copying or resubmitting your own work from another assignment is self-plagiarism and not acceptable. I'll put a little note in here, unless you're given permission to do it. Like sometimes we will be building up, so we'll be creating one part of an assignment and then using that in the next part. The plagiarism checker might show that you're copying your own work. That's not going to count against you because you were told to do that. This is more like, say you've tried this class before and you're just trying to recycle assignments from a previous version of the class. That would be self-plagiarism. So unless an assignment has been given as collaborative homework, all of the work you turn in must be your own. This is important right here. I had a lot of students who just quite didn't get it in my summer class. If the work is collaborative, the names of all participants must be on it. And what I mean by participants are those who actually participate in the creation of the document. So that doesn't mean that all team members' names must be on it. If one of your team members has gone missing and has not participated in the creation of the document, don't put their name on it. Right. Plagiarized work receives a 0. A second offense results in an E for the semester. And just like you don't want any zeros, you don't want to plagiarize either. Because why? You don't want any zeros. And it's thieving. It's academic thievery, intellectual stealing, intellectual theft. We don't want to do that. Late assignment policy generally, basically, boils down to this. If you want your work graded, turn it in on time. That's pretty simple, right? So I grade work that's turned in on time and in the manner indicated in the syllabus and the assignment instructions. I don't grade late work. Please note, I don't take anything away from you. You've got to earn whatever you want to receive. Now, I'm going to go back again to the idea that communication is essential. Life sometimes happens. I am not draconian in my policies. They may sound like it, but I am a human being. I do understand that life sometimes happens beyond our control. In those cases, you must initiate contact with me, and you must do it as soon as you possibly can. Otherwise, your work's late, gets a 0. That's what this policy is all about. And why is that? I mean, that's just kind of the way life works, isn't it? You have deadlines, you have to meet them, or there are consequences. You have to be accountable for the decisions that you make. If you decide you're going to, I don't know, play video games instead of doing your assignments, well, there's going to be consequences to that. So, we're all adults here. We have to be accountable. We have to be responsible. All right, the last thing that I'm going to mention directly is this 14-day absence policy. This is a federal requirement that is tied to student financial aid. If you aren't getting financial aid, I still have to report you. Because you never know when you might be applying for financial aid in the future, because we never know what's going to happen from one day to the next. So here's the policy. Students who do not attend for a 14 calendar day period, so this is 14 days in a row, no weekends off here, and provide no communication regarding their absence will be reported as not attending to the records office. This report will initiate an institutional withdrawal of the student from the class. So that means that GRCC will take you out of the class. That's not something that I do, and it's not something that I have any control over, because if you don't attend for 14 days and there's no communication from you and no effort to, participate in the class, I am legally obligated to report you as not attending. And then the consequence of that is that they will withdraw you, the institution will withdraw you from the class. That may affect your financial aid. Communications regarding attendance must be sent from your GRCC email account. In order to stay enrolled in the class, communications must convey appropriate progress in the class per the standards determined by the syllabus and instructor. In other words, an email saying you are going to miss class is not sufficient. You must also be keeping up with all coursework with sufficient effort and progress. Right. Please note that you will not be reinstated in the class for any reason if you are dropped due to this policy. If you have any questions about that, you can ask me, but you could also ask the Student Records Office, because they will know more than I will. All right, the rest of this I would like you to read on your own. This reiterates that you have to use GRCC email. This is for disability support services, the Code of Conduct, Title IX reporting, campus police, emergency resources, student resources. The Language Arts Lab is an important resource for you. Tech support, counseling, changes to the syllabus, and COVID-19 information. Please read all of that on your own, so that we don't have to spend more time going over that right now. Let's see, we need to go back to here, and you will see that this next slide is another video slide. You have 2 more videos coming up this week. Those will be posted Monday afternoon. And here is where, yes, we stop for this video. Alright, so I will have the other ones up. The other videos for this week will be up Monday morning, tomorrow morning, and that's mostly because it takes a really long time to upload these videos. So those ones are going to have to wait until the morning to be able to be posted on your slides. So again, If you have any questions, have any comments or concerns, please contact me sooner rather than later. I would love to be of assistance to you, and I look forward to all the things we're going to be doing this semester, and getting to know you through the work that you do and any conversations that we have.